Hey, everybody, welcome to NextGen ProServ podcast, a podcast where we're spotlighting disruptors in the professional services industry. And I'm so excited to have my friend Sean join us today. Hey, Sean,
Hello.
how's it going? Welcome to the podcast.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Molly.
Of course. Do you mind introducing yourself for all of the people listening in today?
Yeah, so my name's Sean McClain. I'm the CEO and the head of CRM operations at Lakefront Data Solutions out of Cleveland, Ohio. We're a professional services firm that focuses on database management, CRM, and CDP. If you guys know what those are, customer resource management platforms or customer data platforms. And really, our whole focus is just about understanding a business's customers and centralizing that customer information so they can be more personable with their marketing and sales.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you here. One, give the company a little bit of exposure, partner with Op Mentors here in Cleveland. It's really, really nice to have you on.
Thanks
Do
for
you
having me.
mind sharing a little bit about like how you got started in consulting? And of course, at our core, Op Mentors, our customers are in resource management, operations, a little bit of finance, and customers who are getting their feet wet in estimating services, contracting, etc. So just how'd you get started in services as a consultant, whether it's out of college or a very specific role, and then kind of how you got into this leadership position?
Yeah, sure. So I went to Ohio State for undergraduate in the late 2010s, and I went for marketing. And I got out of college and got into a sales role immediately. And it was like one of those churn and burn sales roles where I was making a lot of outbound calls, and it wasn't very like specialized. So I quickly, after like 6 months of that job and just feeling a little bit of burnout, decided to go back to graduate school. So I went to graduate school at the University of Akron. And I focused on a little bit more of like a technical specialization. So I got my MBA, but I focused on data analysis. And that is what kind of propelled me into the world of technology consulting. I met, basically, I don't know if you have interviewed them, but Rachel Starvaji is one of the people that I met at an internship there. And she actually was able to help me get into my first professional role at the company that you and I worked for in consulting. And so I got in there and I just started working in web analytics. So it was basically like if anybody in the universe knows about web analytics, you basically are adding a back-end data model to a website and you're tracking users' behaviors on a website and sending that to an analytics platform like Adobe or Google Analytics. And the whole goal is to see like who's coming onto my website, what are they doing when they go onto my website? Are they getting lost in specific pages or are they actually converting if it's an e-commerce site? And so my whole job when I got to this company was basically to add tracking to a website and then QA that tracking and make sure it's working appropriately for big corporations.
Cool.
And that was like my first foray into like a technical role. And then after that, I just kind of like got so obsessed with programming and different programming languages. And I kind of like pushed really hard to get into like the most technical role at that company, which is more of a data engineering role. So you're managing back-end databases for companies and you're doing like crazy data visualizations and analysis, and then I don't know how far you want me to go here. I can just keep going with
Yeah, no,
my
it's
career
great.
path.
What's so cool is already like the early dot-com boom, e-commerce foundation, getting into data and analytics. So like your customers and the different types of projects that you've seen throughout the last 10 years, super diverse, probably tons of different industries. So I'm excited to like dive into that a little bit. But yeah, even then, so like after data engineering, taking this leap to where you are today, like what kind of skills, foundations were you ready to take with you from a technical role to now starting your own company?
Yes, it's kind of funny. I actually in undergraduate at Ohio State, my what do you call it? My minor was in entrepreneurship. So
Oh,
I
cool.
always wanted to own my own business. I was like way back, when I was like 18, which was, 2 decades ago now. I was like obsessed with, how do I start my own business? How do you even do something like that and be successful in today's, economy? So I think a lot of what I just explained about like my career path was finding like something that I could be specialized in and offer as like a good service to a customer. And yeah, I worked with a bunch of like just getting exposure in the consulting business in my first job was so valuable because I got to basically sample a bunch of different businesses and in different industries, all through the lens of the web analytics world. But
Mhm.
I got to see like big box retailers and how they operate. And then, I even worked on some commercial real estate company clients and car manufacturers. And you figure out that business is similar in a lot of ways, and it's different in depending on what industry you're in. But there's trends that you can kind of identify and patterns of business that are similar between all of them. So it was almost like a crash course in a bunch of different industries in the first like 2 or 3 years that I got to work.
Yeah.
And what I figured out was eventually, after I figured out my specialization in data engineering, I started almost like leaning into the sales side of the business and the consultancy that we worked at
Hmm.
and helping different sales leaders close deals, write contracts, estimate big projects. And once I got a couple of those under my belt, like I think I closed like one or two, six-figure deals or helped close them. I was like, oh, well, I can do this. And it just
Sure.
took like getting to that point and going like, well, why can't I just go and kind of create a business model that's, fits, I guess, like the 2020s economy versus like the way that our business was run was a little more like 90s to early 2000s model where it's very hierarchical and there's a lot of overhead and things like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of just said, you know what? I think at this point I've closed enough deals and I've kind of moved into the go-to-market enough that I feel like I can do this on my own and I can, build a little bit more of a lean data model or business model, I should say,
Hmm.
where the way that I run my business now is everybody basically, each of the people that work for me or work with me owns their own I hate calling it a book of business because that feels so salesy, but it
Yeah.
really is that they own their own clients and they're responsible for renewing them. And we all work together to find new clients and talk to them and get them to come on board as one of our clients. We charge a really competitive rate, for the work that we do, and we're really try to be results oriented, not like this like set it and forget it client engagement where the client's just like, what are you guys doing this month? And we're like, we don't know. What do you need us to do? It's more like, hey, we are going to tell you what you should be doing to move the business forward and
Hmm.
be very thoughtful in the work that we do, as well as be your most technical resource. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just love it because your storyline and career path, while the roles are slightly different from mine, it's exactly how I found out mentors too, right? Get all that hands-on experience, learn a very specific skill set that you can pour into. So for me, that was operations, resource management. How do these firms run effectively from quote to cash? But then learning how to scope those deals and support a sales cycle so that you're ingrained in the solution, the value, why we charging it the way we do, why we staffing it the way that we do, so we can deliver that real value for the customer. And now you have your niche, and now you can go to market with everything that you're doing for your clients today. So that's what I think is really unique about everyone keep bringing on from the podcast that's been honestly a past Certinia PSA customer is you actually are you're a professional service, consultant in whatever industry or role you're in, but you're learning those core foundational elements of go to market, sales, contracting, scoping, delivering, and executing on that value. So I have a couple hot take questions, which kind of get under people's skin, and it's really fun. Do you think spreadsheets for scoping are dead? Do you have a tool that you like to use that's not napkin math, role-based outcome, kind of like start date, end date, bill rate? Or do you think that that's just something that as an entrepreneur, someone scoping services, that's just like human nature and will always be something that people need to do when they're in the sales cycle?
it's definitely a mix for me. So we have like a very, very technical project like style and nature. Like the work that we do is very different depending on what type of platform we're implementing or who the
Mhm.
customer is or what industry they're in. So we do have templates. One of the guys that works with me, his name's Ed Wolf. You know Ed.
Great guy.
He's excellent with customer data platforms. He's the head of our customer data platforms, and he has built really intricate templates for different CDPs that we could implement for a customer.
Hmm.
And they scale and shift depending on things like the number of data sources that you're going to bring into your CDP and what type of unification you need to do in that project. That is completely unrelated to a CRM. Not completely, but like we're not going to use the same template for a CRM implementation like
Yep.
Salesforce because you
Okay.
don't have to do unification in Salesforce. You're not connecting a bunch of data sources. You're really just, sometimes you are, but you're really more just implementing the CRM and setting up users and changing the way that you maybe a company would track an opportunity or implementing a PSA or something like that, right? That might be an additional data source that you'd bring in and set up and configure, but it's totally separate from CDP. So to get back to your question, I do use spreadsheets for certain things because
Mhm.
there's a human element to every project, and I think you have to scope differently depending on the stakeholders of the company, how complex the project is, what type of platform you're implementing. Um, and so I don't know. We have templates, but I also napkin math. And
I
you
know,
learn a lot of
right?
that as you go, right? Like as you scope 100 deals,
Yeah.
you go, okay, I already know just intuitively that this company is maybe being difficult in the scoping process, so we might need to add a little bit extra contingency for the meetings that we're going to have throughout the project. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. Yep, yeah. Or like, I've done this 100 times. This customer feels a lot like this one from the past. Let me pull that down and use that as a boilerplate. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
The other thing that I'm super curious about your perspective, how quickly are you integrating AI into the delivery model with your team?
Mhm.
And do you see that changing short term, long term?
I knew the AI topic was going to come
Gonna come
up. It's in
up?
every conversation, which is because it's so like central in our like the business ecosystem right now and like everybody's thought
Yep.
process. So here's how like my general opinion on AI and how we use it in our work. I think it's a really good tool for programming more efficiently. But what I always like the way we have it integrated is we all have Copilot in our premium subscriptions. We all use all three of the major GPT models like Gemini, ChatGPT, excuse me, and Claude we also use. But we use it in a way where we will have it generate code based on specific prompts, and then we'll use that as our base template, and then we'll go and customize the program, that it spits out. Like that's just helps us like accelerate the development process so that I'm not putting my hands on the keyboard typing 1,200 lines of code. I'm really
Yep.
saying, hey, I need this specific function. I have these parameters. Can you spit this out for me? And then I take that and I customize it. And I know what it's actually doing. Like I've
Yeah.
gone through a million Python courses and a million SQL courses. So I understand what it's typing for me. I'm not like vibe coding it and then giving it to a client and not
Hmm.
understanding what it does. So that's how we use AI. We use it to accelerate our development.
Cool.
We also do use AI for our website. So the Lakefront Data Solutions website is generated by Replit, but it has a full backend. Like I have all the individual files for our website. It's not like it just vibe coded it and then I'm just like relying completely on Replit to do it. It's actually producing the project files that feed into creating the website, and I can customize those.
Very cool. That's
Um, I
awesome.
I do think just like the last thing I'll say on AI is we don't recommend using AI without having a clear return on investment for our customers. So if they're coming to us and saying, "Hey, platform Salesforce is pitching us Agentforce," you know what I mean, which is one of their big AI powered products, we'll always do like a full breakdown of like, well, what is your expected return on this investment? Is it you're going to have, 20% efficiency gains with your salespeople, or you're going to get deals at a 10% higher average deal rate or, margin? And then we measure that after we do the implementation. We never go, well, we'll see what works, and then
Mhm.
they just lose a bunch of money because that's what's happening right now with a lot of AI projects.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that value outcome analysis, even upfront in the sales cycles, something we're focusing on. Going back to previous customers, talking about their go live with Certinia PSA, when were they maturing and adopting to certain areas? Have they seen improvements in those KPIs over time as they're getting better? So even from the AI front, you have to find a customer who's willing to go through that exercise with you and kind of be very transparent about the KPIs they're trying to get out when they're working with you in professional services, right? Your trusted partner. Do you see that that's something that's difficult to open up that level of trust early in a sales cycle with a brand new customer? Are you seeing like land and expand be part of your strategy for the upcoming year? Can you just let me know a little bit about your customers and what you're seeing from people when it comes to picking a new partner and working with a new firm?
Yeah, so our challenge is really getting the initial introduction. That's where most of my go-to-market efforts have been focused on. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be driving all around Ohio with a bunch of these like custom briefs that I'm giving to people I've never met. That is like, here is my opinion on your business model from an outsider's perspective. Here's how we could specifically help with you. Here's some ideas of projects. And I'm just going and trying to meet as many people from specific businesses. So like that's getting that initial introduction,
Hmm.
which is tough to do because people don't trust you, and there's so many um, consultancies that will put a bad taste in a client's mouth from previous implement or work that they did that it was subpar. And so getting them to trust you is the hardest part. But then once I can get in that initial conversation, our conversion rates are extremely high because we know what we're talking about at our business. Like, and I'm never going to hard pitch a platform or a product that I don't believe in because that's the core of like how you keep a client around is them trusting you, and not only for the actual implementation work but your advisement. And the big
Hmm.
reason that we have a 100% retainment rate with our clients is because I will come in and they'll say, hey, we're thinking about switching to HubSpot, and I will be very, very blunt and honest with them about whether or not I think that's a good idea, and giving them all the pros and cons that I know from implementing dozens of HubSpot implementations in the past. And I think clients respect that, and they care about that almost as much as they care about you being able to do the actual work. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the main reasons why Lakefront was somebody I wanted to bring onto the podcast, just as a industry disruptor, someone who's really pushing forward Cleveland and the different talent and skill sets that are out there. Just really highlighting that honesty and trust is where professional services at its core, that's where it matters, right? It's
Yeah.
not platform specific or very like deeply tied roots to particular solutions. It's the outcomes, and that's why we all wake up every day, is just to service our customers and make sure they're satisfied with the goal posts that we're putting in for them to mature and grow and reach those outcomes. And ultimately, right, like it's services, like we're here to serve others. So it's just a really interesting time right now to be in consulting. And I'm even seeing like different firms expand and contrast, and our networks of people really honing in on niche skills and addressing very specific markets, where others, are kind of expanding into different solution areas. And of course, as things modernize, it's just going to be really fun to watch people grow their careers and take on new challenges. If you had any advice to any listeners when it comes to, let's like hone it back into the operations side of running your own
Mhm.
business, what
Yeah.
are the things that you've learned, say, even in the last 5 years, that are the most important skills from sales, delivery, and financials and people management that you would take forward with Lakefront? Just in general, what's made you successful?
That's good. From an operations side, always evaluate your what's working and what's not working in your business. Like, don't set and forget things for a long period of time. So for an example, we've tried, like, man, I hate to go back into BD, but it's kind of BD operations. We
Mhm.
tried like a bunch of different strategies for outreach, and we tried a bunch of products and platforms that hit our budget sheet in different ways. Okay. So we invested in doing like LinkedIn ads for a month, and that cost a couple grand. And that was a suggestion from somebody on our team. And I was a little trepidatious about trying it, but I wanted to try it, and so we did it for a period of time. We set specific goals. We didn't actually meet those goals by the end of the period of time that we tested it, and so we decided to stop doing it. But I think it was good that we went through the exercise and we had a very measured approach to it. And then once we finished it, we did like a post-op and said, "Hey, did this work or not? No, okay, let's try something else." And not just like leaving that and forgetting about it, or not like going full bore into it and trying it out was something I was proud that we did. So that's one thing I'll say is like it's good to try things, but make sure that you're always checking and updating your business operations and saying like, hey, Kate, is this CRM that we're using working for our sales team, or is it costing too much money? We're not actually getting any value out of it. Is this um, like maybe we can go into different operational tools? Like, is this expense platform that we're using actually making sense? Is this forecasting tool, is it something that's pretty relevant to this conversation? Is this actually giving us the value we need, or is it causing a lot of friction with our internal teams and project management? And do we need to drop it or do we need to adjust the way that it works or add some customizations to make it fit our business a little better? Always having that evaluation on a continuous basis is super important. And I think especially for me, because we're a smaller business that's growing really quickly. And so we hit a lot of operational friction points that are difficult. And I'm unfortunately always in the middle of it because I play operations and sales and implementation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that is so important to continue to consider, that swivel chair moment between systems, people, process so that you can scale and eliminating that friction, like you said. I mean, in our business, we're going through the exact same thing, right? And as you expand and contrast your team, your tooling, and your go-to-market strategy, we're consistently refining offerings, listening to our customers' feedback, making sure that there's a trend behind it before making that change. So it's really interesting that you're even saying like small wins with marketing, small wins and pivots with the way you meet people, small wins with even the way you deliver and have your consultants kind of manage their own portfolio or book of business. I'm actually seeing that as a trend here too. So that's going to be something that people also need to pivot and adjust and be open to. Professional services industry is changing, and I'm really listening to our consultants more and more about what they're enjoying about their roles, how much hands-on keyboard time really is or is not required anymore because of AI.
Mhm.
So we're even going in a direction of pivoting our delivery model for services in a way that people aren't really used to anymore, where it's all value-based outcome. And then it's less hands on keyboard, more time for conversation, strategy, thought leadership in a way that customers are like, they're thirst for it. You know, they want to hear from us and they don't want us spending time configuring systems, clicking buttons just to get, an outcome done. So automation is at its core.
Yeah, I
So
mean, just the configuration work, like that base work, is something a lot of companies will farm out to less skilled labor. Like they will do that, right? So I just am echoing what you're saying. Like you can basically, you know, the work that we do, we're a very specialized company. Like we're more of the strategic mind where we come in and we say, hey, what is your goal with this? What you're trying to achieve with your CRM, your CDP, and how can we help you get there? If they want somebody that can just go, we're choosing this customer data platform, implement it in this way, more and more unskilled labor can do that, or less skilled labor can do that because of AI and automation and all that
yep,
stuff, right?
yep.
So it's more important for us to be able to say, well, you could do it this way, and here's all the considerations you need to have and lay it out for the client. Like that's why they're coming to us versus somebody else.
Yes, yeah, and I think the industry is totally pushing in that direction, and folks like yourself and everyone in our kind of demographic in this industry and age group will have to level up their consulting skills because
Mhm.
no longer is it that hands-on keyboard. I mean, we are high value experienced consultants that can now add value in a completely different way. So it's a fun kind of teaser. My last hot take question is, do you think T&M is dead?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a type of engagement that you can structure for specific workflows, right? So a lot of the projects that are the client engagements that we have are like a hybrid model where we'll have T&M for like ad hoc requests. Or if we're managing a CRM, for example, I have one of our clients that we have a bucket of T&M hours that they use, and then we have project-based hours that are separate because they have specific project initiatives that have a distinct beginning and end. But
Hmm.
T&M I'll use for continuous support. Like,
Yep.
and that's how we bifurcate it. But I hope did I answer your question?
Cool. Yeah, no, of course. I mean, the hot take honestly is people are redesigning their contracts. Customers have different expectations and it's just kind of a thing that triggers a lot of consultants because every hour is important. Where we spend our time is important, but those outcomes truly are where the customer sees the most value. So, a hybrid approach sounds really, really interesting, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like what's the nature of your engagement with your client?
Hmm.
Like, what do they need out of you? And if you are playing more of a managerial role or I should say an administrative role, then T&M makes more sense because it's not like a set support. amount. It's more of an evergreen, continuous support engagement. And
Hmm.
some people can structure that as a retainer or a fixed fee thing, but I like to give my clients maximum flexibility. And because we're so nimble as a business, we can kind of give them that, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, of course. And
Yeah.
is one of the goals to stay that nimble, or as you grow, do you think your offerings will continue to shape and mold in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. The answer to that question is exactly what it was when we talked about the operational model and always be reevaluating. I think
Mhm.
as we grow, I'm trying to not be, it's important to be consistent in some regards for, the people that work at the company and your clients. Like you want to be consistent in your messaging and the way that the values of your business, but it's also important to be, um, adaptable as you grow and know and when to know that things are not working and are more difficult than they should be and to shift. So
Mhm.
I always want us to be nimble and have minimal overhead as a business and to have as many people in our organization be technical in nature and be able to answer questions that are complex. But I obviously, as you scale a business, like realistically, there's going to be more overhead. It's just the way a business works, right? If I have 10 people, I can't have one-on-ones with all of them every day, but right now I can do that because we have a smaller team. Um, and so that's my answer is like as we shift, I want to be adaptable in those ways, but definitely be consistent with we are the best in our business at what we do, and we're a boutique consulting firm, and we're here to have minimal numbers of clients per person so they can invest all their time into the clients that they have. And that's always going to be the business model, but how we deliver that is always going to adapt.
That's so cool. And honestly, like just the coming of age story of like, right out of college, learning, going through different education paths and different careers moves to get you to where you are. I mean, it's a awesome moment to celebrate. Like the how many years in business have you guys been going strong now?
We'll be 2 full years in May. That's where
Yeah.
we're at. So we're like a year and 7 months or 6 months right now, which is so
Amazing.
fun.
So there's a
Yeah.
birthday party coming up.
Yeah.
Make sure that you send us an invite
Of
here in
course. Yeah.
Cleveland. Everyone's cheering for you. We want to
Oh.
keep supporting everyone in the area and making sure we're telling great stories. Do you have any customer success stories you want to share with us before we wrap? Any really cool projects that you've done recently?
Oh my gosh, we have so many. Man. We implemented so we have a medical device company called Bravita Medical. They're on our website. Fantastic business. They basically sell a bunch of different medical devices to hospitals around the United States and military, and a really cool just business model. They had a big issue with um, unifying their accounts across all of their platforms. And so we did a composable CDP for them in their data warehouse that basically brought like 80,000 different like customer accounts across a bunch of different sources in and like consolidated it down to give them really concise, not only reporting, but like sales reporting and uh, they're just doing a lot with it now. We just finished that work and it was like a really big moment for them. So I thought that was really cool. Man, what else? Let me
Man,
think.
that sounds great. I
I don't
mean,
know. We work with a
even
bunch of
even
companies.
something like that, right? The impact that you're going to drive for a customer like that can now have a centralized place to manage all of their accounts. It's as simple as it is, data governance and having solutions in place and structure is exactly what customers are looking for. Coming out of the pandemic, people were over customizing solutions, buying tooling like crazy, and now having that single view, I'm sure they're so happy for your guys' support.
It's huge. Yeah. And it's answered a lot of questions that they've been really having trouble answering. And so they're just making a lot more informed decisions and be able to push forward in a lot of different ways that, they weren't
Wasn't
able
possible
to
before.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, awesome. So great to catch up. I'm so glad you were able to join us today, and hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast. Maybe we'll get Ev or Ed to join in. I think that'd be so great. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day, John. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Molly. I appreciate you having me on and talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
See ya.